Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the expert teachers here at E2 Language, and I'm going to take you through this live class today. This is for PTE speaking, so welcome. So while we're waiting for people to arrive, you can say hi to me in the chat box. Let me see who we have here today. Hi Halima, welcome. Who else have we got here today? Let's have a look. Hi Shijin, hi Denver. Hi Suketu, hi Osama, hi Jason, hi Sebastian, hi Akshay. Welcome. Now listen, we have the chat box at the moment set so that people can either send messages to just me or to everybody in the group. So if you want to send the messages to just me, then you write to all panelists. And I see that most people have done it like that today, maybe without knowing the difference. But if you want to send your messages to everybody, then you want to send it to all panelists and attendees. So that would be the case of Denver. Hi, Denver. So I make the difference because I think if you're giving answers, maybe you just send them to me so we don't overload everybody's inboxes with everybody's chat boxes, sorry, with answers. But if you want to ask questions that maybe other people in the group could help you with, or make comments that other people in the group might want to hear, then you could share with everybody. It's nice to have that interaction between you as well as between you and me, I think. So welcome. A few more people said hi. Let me see. We've got Sebastian, Akshay, Dong, Susan, and there we go, Anubhav saying hi to everybody. Okay. Why don't we say hi to everybody and say where you are in the world today? You can give a little shout out to your location, your city or your country. Hi, Taras. And do it to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see where these nationalities that we have here. So we've got Sebastian in Germany, great. Susan in the Philippines. What else do we have? From Melbourne, hi Dibu. I'm just going to have some tea as well. Chennai in India, there you go, hi. Pakistan, or more India, Hyderabad, I don't know, my pronunciation is probably terrible there. Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Bangalore. Wow, it's brilliant to find out where everybody is. Well done. And if you're joining us through YouTube, very welcome. I can't see the chat box over there, but you can talk together. And if you want to come and join us in the E2 family, you'll be connecting to the classes in a different way. And then we have a chat box, as you can hear, that where we can speak to each other and communicate. So today what we're going to be doing is looking at the methods for the PTE speaking. We'll do some pronunciation, some note taking, and some vocabulary practice. We'll practice each part of the speaking task as well, and it'll take around 60 to 70 minutes, probably a little bit longer than an hour. On screen, you can see the different things that we'll practice. So we'll start off with read aloud, then we'll have repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, and answer short question. That is usually the order on the test as well. I mean, it can vary, so you do have to be ready for anything, but that is usually the way it appears on the test. You can also see the number of those that you can expect on the test and the time that you're given for each of those tasks. All right. So let's take a look, first of all, a quick reminder, this is what we call the live class. Now, during the week, we have 2 classes each day. We have a live class and a live mock test. And the difference is in the live mock test, it's a little bit quicker. We don't have so much explanation of the methods and practice of techniques. It's just practice, okay? But today, we're going to do a live class. Also, a quick reminder, if you don't know already, that we have a special campaign at the moment, Better Together. So studying is better together. It's nice to have these moments of contact with each other. And if you use the code Better Together 15, you can get $15 off any upgrade or any new package. So you might want to upgrade the package that you're currently on to have access to more assessments, more tutorials. If that's the case, then you can use that code for $15 off. All right. And yeah, today we're going to play around with some pronunciation features. So we're going to look at a couple of tongue twisters. This is taken from the internet. And if you've got issues with pronunciation, then you know it's a good idea to learn this phonemic chart. This covers all of the 44 sounds of English. It's got the vowels, which are the monophthongs and the diphthongs. So the diphthongs are where you have kind of two sounds together, like ear or a or oo. Yeah, and it's most people are visual learners. So if you are one of those people and you're struggling with pronunciation of some particular sounds, then it's nice to have that be able to understand a visual representation of the word. So any good dictionary, whether it's online or on paper, will show you the word in phonemic script. And so you can, if you are familiar with this chart, you are able to read that script, and then you've got that kind of visual reference for a word. So I always strongly recommend that you learn the phonemic chart. Some of it is very straightforward because it's quite similar to the alphabet letter, and some sounds are a little bit more challenging and you have to learn them. So today we're going to play around with a couple of tongue twisters, and the first one is going to focus on the difference between these two sounds, which is E and I. E, I. So this one is sheep, sheep, and this one ship, ship. Now this, depending on your language, can be notoriously difficult to differentiate because they sound the same for many people. And this is partly because as we get older, we lose part of the ability to be able to differentiate between phonemes that don't exist in our own language. So if that's sounding, you know, if it's hard for you to hear the difference between that, then maybe you just need to concentrate on making this one longer. And these two dots on the phonemic script always show when a sound is longer rather than shorter. So we can see that here as well. And here, this one is ah, and this one is ah, ah. Yeah, so it's a long sound versus a short sound. So if you can't quite hear the difference between those two sounds, it's E and I. E, I. Obviously, I'm exaggerating that a little. So we're going to play with one tongue twister with that. And then we're going to look at another tongue twister, which will have a lot of different vowel sounds, including the sound ah, as in cat, ah, and o. This one is o. Looks like an ah backwards, right? But the phonemic script representation of the sound o is this one. All right, so let's have a play. Here we go. So if you want to record yourselves, you can. I'll probably ask you to do this at different times throughout the session today. So it's really good to record yourselves and listen back to it afterwards. I know it can be a bit of a painful experience sometimes to listen to our own voices, let alone in our own language. And if it's in another language, it's even worse, right? But it's really good practice to listen to yourself because you can hear things like your pronunciation, you can hear your oral fluency, hesitation, all those other things that we'll talk about later. But for now, if you want to record yourselves doing these, you can. And if not, you can just copy along with me. So we've got the first tongue twister. Okay, we're going to say it 3 times. So I'll leave a pause after the first one for you to repeat it. And then the second and third we can say together. All right. So here's the first one. The sheep on the ship slipped on their feet. Okay, now let's try this one together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. The sheep on the ship slipped on their feet. Okay, and we'll go again. 1, 2, 3. The sheep on the ship slipped on their feet. And of course, the fun thing about tongue twisters is to try to say them lots of times fast, right? So the sheep on the ship slipped on their feet. The sheep on the sheep slipped on their feet. The sheep on the ship slipped on their feet. I think maybe I made a mistake in the second one. How did you do? Okay, so that's our first one. So let's have a look at the second one now. Here we have a picture of a gnat. Gnats are not really a thing where I live, but maybe you have them. They're a kind of flying thing. Some of them are biting, some of them are not biting, I think, but I think the biting ones are obviously worse. So gnats, and the pronunciation is a bit weird anyway, because we don't pronounce the G, I don't think, so we just say gnats. And also this word, we don't pronounce the G either. So we've got loads of pronunciation stuff happening in these sentences. So we've got gnats and gnawing. So we've got a few different vowel sounds here. You can see them. We've got the first one, gnats. Gnats are not gnawing on the nuts at night. There we go. On the nuts at night. So we hear last week on Saturday, we talked about the schwa sound, which is the neutral sound, which is like, yeah. So this has got a the. This is a neutral sound. We've got an on the nuts at night. Okay, here we go. Let's give it a go. So gnats are not gnawing on the nuts at night. Okay, we'll try again. Gnats are not gnawing on the nuts at night. And let's do it together. 1, 2, 3. Gnats are not gnawing on the nuts at night. There you go. So have a play with those. If you want to take a screenshot of them and play again with them later, you can. Tongue twisters can be, you know, a fun way to focus on some of these pronunciation features. So have a muck around with those and see if you can get them fast. So next up, what we're going to do is look at some vocabulary that's going to appear on today's class. Yeah, so this is some of the vocabulary that you're going to hear today. So first of all, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to read this vocabulary. So here you go. Okay, so now let's look at some of the meanings of this vocabulary. Here is a quick quiz. On the left, we've got a phrase, and on the right, we've got some potential meanings, and I want you to match these two. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Off you go. Okay, so let's take a look at the answers to these. The first one, what struck me, would be D, I realised. Number 2, every conceivable standard means all possible measures. Number 3, domesticated means able to live in the house. Number 4, can be clearly distinguished from means that you are able to tell it apart. 5, induced by is caused by. And 6, gnawing away at means continuing to worry about something. Now we saw the word gnaw in the context of gnats, right? So the tongue twister, gnawing. But in this case, it means if something is gnawing away at you, it means that you can't get it out of your head. You are consistently worrying about it. Okay, like the idea of gnawing is like biting and chewing. Is the chat box working? Everyone has gone very quiet. Are you still there? Give me a sign that you're with me. Oh yeah, good. Okay, I've not sent you all off to sleep or anything. Great. Okay, phew, you're all still there. So let's practice then, read aloud. You must be ready for some practice. So what we're going to just quickly do is go through the way that this works. So on screen, you can see more or less what it would look like in your PTE exam. You have the time that you're given to practice varies for this. It's either 35 or 40 seconds usually. Up here you have the timer and how many items you're going to do and the time that you have remaining. You have your instructions. You have, in many of these exercises, this one which tells you when the exercise will begin, and then when you begin speaking it changes to the amount of time that you have been speaking, and you have the text that you have to read aloud. So the method for this is, in the preparation time, do read aloud with your voice. Don't just read it in your head. Then when you speak, you need to read at a moderate pace. You read the phrases, which means that you pause in appropriate places and you read it with meaning. A couple of don'ts. Don't wait more than 3 seconds. This goes for all of the exercises on the speaking, because if you do, it will automatically go to the next exercise. Don't hesitate or don't correct yourself, don't add, omit, or replace words. You want to read exactly what's on screen. Don't read too quickly. Okay, you're scored on this for content, oral fluency, and pronunciation, and you get 6 or 7 of these on the test. Do check the instructions for how much time you have to prepare and record yourselves doing these. I urge you to record yourself and listen back to it later. Okay, here we go. So this is our first one. You've got 35 seconds to prepare for this. Okay, so good luck. Here we go. Okay, so that was our first one. Let's take a look and a listen to a sample answer for this. Now, what we're going to look at is either the stress, and you can see here in blue the words which are stressed, or you can concentrate on it like this, which is showing you where the pausing is. Now, obviously, this is a visual representation of the recording, and you can see here the gaps where the pauses are. So let's take a listen. Here we go.
Dogs were the first animal to be domesticated by humans. The oldest fossils that can be clearly distinguished from wolves are from the region of what is now Germany, from around 15,000 years ago. However, there are unverified claims of domesticated dog bones in Siberia from an earlier period.
Okay, so you can hear there where the pauses are and where the stressed words are. So how did you do? Think about your content. If you were able to read exactly what was on the page without any changing of anything, then you can give yourself a maximum of 5 points. You need to take off a point for each error. For oral fluency and pronunciation, you give yourself a score out of 5. 5 being native-like, 4 advanced, 3 good, 2 intermediate. So I know it can be difficult to, evaluate yourself, but I want you to give yourself an estimated score for this. What do you think your score would be out of 15? Okay, so you can keep track of that in the chat box if you like, or you can just put it on a piece of paper, but I strongly recommend that you try to keep track of your scores so you can see whether or not you are improving. All right, let's try another one. Good. Thank you, Sebastian and Niba, for sharing those scores. Great. Well done. Right, let's get ready for another one. So this one, you've got 40 seconds to prepare. Here you go. Good luck. Okay, well done. That should have been plenty of time, I think, to read that. Let's take a listen again to a sample answer. Here we can see stress words and pauses.
A recent study examined a time-restricted diet where participants could consume whatever they wanted between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m, but after that, they could only drink water. The study followed participants for 12 weeks and found that they consumed 350 fewer calories, lost about 3% of their body weight, and had improved systolic blood pressure.
Okay, bit of background noise on that recording, but we could hear there the pausing and the emphasis. So again, give yourself a score out of 15 for this one. And that means that you have a total score out of 30 for the test today. So how did you do on that? How are you doing so far on the test? Okay, Sebastian, a bit better on that one. Good. Okay, Niba, this about a little bit worse on that one. So the opposite of Sebastian. Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Ritesh. Good. So some sort of 13, 14s. It sounds pretty good to me. Okay, so next up. Okay, Akshay, so a bit better on the second one. Great. So next we're going to look at repeat sentence. All right. For this one, it looks like this. So again, you've got up here your item number. In this case, now we're on item number 8 because we've done 7 of the previous exercises. So then we've got the recording status. You have a volume control. And what you can do here is you need to listen. And you want to be listening for usually 3 phrases. So you're really listening to the phrases and the overall meaning of the sentence. It's very difficult to remember a sentence if you haven't understood it. So listen for the meaning. Listen also to the way the speaker says the sentences. So think about their intonation pattern and notice that. When you speak, you want to speak clearly and naturally. You aim to say the sentences in a similar way to the speaker, and don't correct yourself if you make a mistake. So don't go back and correct it, just press on through. Again, you're scored for content, oral fluency and pronunciation, and there are 10 of 12 of these on the test. Now, some people find, you can record yourselves doing these if you like, some people find it helpful to kind of close their eyes to really concentrate on listening. What I'm going to do today is count you in so you know exactly when it will start. So I'll just turn off my video, get out of your way. All right, so here we go. Everyone focus. In 3, 2, 1.
Inside your head is a brain, and that brain is made out of billions of neurons.
Okay, so that was our first one. It was quite long and it was quite difficult. There's a bit of funny background noise on this.
Inside your head is a brain, and that brain is made out of billions of neurons.
Okay, so if you got that, well done. Yeah, because it's quite tricky. DY, it looks like you had a pretty good shot at that. So for the scoring, for content, if you get all the words in the correct order, then you can have 3 points. But if you got a lot of the words, but they're not quite in the right order, or you got at least more than 50% of the words correct, then you can have 2 points. Now, for oral fluency and pronunciation, the scale is the same. So the lesson from this is that even if you haven't caught or remembered all of the sentence, you say as much as you can, clearly and confidently, without hesitating, right? Because you're going to pick up marks for oral fluency and pronunciation, even if your content mark falls. So that's the, the takeaway from this, and it's really important to remember that. So a couple of people saying that they had the words, but they're jumbled up a bit. You'll probably get 2 for content, but your oral fluency and your pronunciation mark will not be affected by those problems with content, as long as you are able to, say them clearly, say them confidently. So keep that in mind for this section. Right, we're going to practice 2 more, I think. So let's get ready. Yeah, Archana says, what if I repeat the sentence twice? That's not recommended, actually, to kind of go back and do it again. Just say it, just say it once and clearly. Okay, here we go. Focus in 3, 2, 1.
30 years ago, most of the food was largely local and largely fresh.
Okay, so let's look at that one. 13 words here.
30 years ago, most of the food was largely local and largely fresh.
Okay, so again, it's 3 points if you got all of those, and 2 if you got more than 50% for content, that is. Okay, and next one, focus in 3, 2, 1.
Sleep is when the brain transfers short-term memories experienced throughout the day into long-term memories.
Okay, and this was the third one, so here we go.
Sleep is when the brain transfers short-term memories experienced throughout the day into long-term memories.
Okay, so quite a long one there as well. Again, give yourself for content a potential score of 3, and then for oral fluency and pronunciation scores out of 5. But yeah, that last one, your maximum amount of words is going to be about 15, 16, and many of them would be a lot shorter than that. Okay, so that gives you a total score out of 39. So on that section, how are you doing? How did you go on that one? So some people found the third one a bit tricky. I think they were quite tricky examples today, I think, compared to some that we looked at. All right, well done, Niba. So let's move on now to describe image. So on the test, it looks something like this. You have your instructions, you have the timer, the recording status, and the method for describe image is to look at the title. Usually the images have a title, and if it's a graph or something similar, you look at the x-axis, which is this one. Then you want to notice information in the image and look for simple information which stands out. So the lowest, in this case it's very easy, it would be here, the highest and one of the feature. In this case it would probably be that it it dramatically increased over the second part of the period. then you're going to speak about this. We recommend that you use the framework, which we'll look at in a moment. We speak clearly and at a moderate pace. And the key thing is to keep speaking, keep it simple, and try to stop at around 35 seconds so that you're not cut off by the timer every time. Don't get complicated, don't wait, don't hesitate or and ah, and don't restart sentences. Again, it's based on content, oral fluency and pronunciation. And in this case, there are 6 or 7 of these in the test. Now you get 25 seconds to prepare and you speak for around 40 seconds. So the framework that we recommend is the introduction, is this line graph or this bar chart or this pie chart or this map, whatever it is, you can see different types here, represents, and then the title and the x-axis. Okay, so then this is like, you don't even really need to think about that too much. It should be automatic after you've done a lot of practice of this. Then the body are the 3 key features, remembering to keep it simple. So as I said, lowest, highest, and one other feature. And the conclusion is just 1 sentence. And in that sentence, you can either summarize, predict, or give a reason. And you want to be doing that all in under 40 seconds. We recommend aiming to stop at about 35. So can you remember that framework? You can pop it in the chat box if you like. Yeah, what was the idea here? So in the introduction, and if you want to just say it aloud to yourself there at home, that's fine. Exactly, Diwa, well done. Okay, so we've got exactly the introduction. This line graph represents. Some people asking, can we also change that? So yeah, you can say this line graph shows or illustrates, or, you know, I'm sure there are more verbs that we can have there. It's not necessary to change them though. Then the body, good Diwa, 3 key features. And then the conclusion is summarize, predict, or give a reason. So let's take a look at some vocabulary for this. All right, here we have a graph, beliefs about climate change. So the introduction would say something like this: bar graph shows beliefs about climate change, and the x-axis is across a range of occupations and groups. Now, that's because we can't say all of these. Tip my head on the side. We've got university scientists, environmental groups, environmental scientists, government scientists, you know, too many to say. So we just summarize that by saying this, which is nice, right? If you wanted, you could say including, but I don't think it's necessary here. So just have a look at this and think of some vocabulary you could use to describe some of the features of this graph. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think of some examples, and you can pop it in the chat box if you like. Here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples here. Oof, loads of examples. So we've got the highest number of, right? So we've got, obviously this is here, by far the largest, the vast majority of, X are most likely, so that would be university scientists are most likely to believe, da da da. And then the opposite down here, the smallest, the least likely, smaller numbers of, the smallest number of, or the highest number of X is, while the lowest number is. I really like those sentences where you use while or whereas. to talk about the highest versus the lowest, right? So the highest number of university scientists, people who believe that the happening is happening but not natural. It's a bit complicated, this, isn't it? So the highest number of people who believe climate change is happening but not natural is in university scientists. Oh, right. While the lowest number is in car companies and oil companies, right? For example, something like that. So take a screenshot of some of this language if you're not familiar with this already. This is kind of easy stuff to remember, and then it means that you've got a nice range of language for dealing with this. Let me look quickly. Okay. So here we have, a sample answer for this graph that we've just looked at. We can see an introduction, which should take about 4 or 5 seconds. Then we can see the highest and the lowest and one more feature. And then we can see some possible conclusions. Now, it will take a listen in a moment, but we can see 3 potential conclusions here. Let's take a listen. In this case, we've gone for a summary.
The bar graph shows beliefs about climate change across a range of occupations and groups. The highest number of people who believe that climate change is happening and is human-induced are university scientists, environmental groups and environmental scientists, while car companies and oil companies are the least likely to believe that it's human-induced. Car companies and oil companies are also the least likely to believe that climate change is happening, but is natural. In conclusion, it can be seen that those most invested in fossil fuels are least likely to believe in either natural or human-induced climate change.
Okay, so that was Melinda, obviously doing this like a pro. So let me emphasize that this is an absolute 90 of an answer. So you don't need to be as good as this. And then the other ones, prediction. In conclusion, it could be predicted that oil companies and car companies will continue to be the biggest group of climate change deniers. Or a reason, in conclusion, a possible reason for university scientists' strong belief in either natural or man-made climate change may be their greater understanding of the situation. Those are very, sophisticated conclusions. You can aim to have something along the lines of a summary, prediction, or reason. Okay, if you don't have time to include a conclusion, it's not the end of the world as well. So if you can get there, great, but if you don't have time for that, don't worry too much. Now, here is a reminder of that framework, okay? And now you're going to have a turn. So get your recording apps ready. I'm going to just turn off my camera. Here we go. And you've got 25 seconds to prepare. 40 seconds to speak. We've got a little reminder of the method here. Off you go. Good luck. Okay, so how did you go? How was that? Let's take a look and a listen to a sample answer for this one. Here we go.
This bar graph illustrates voter attitudes to climate change by political party. The vast majority of Labor Party and Green voters believe that climate change is real and that it is human-induced, while the majority of Liberal, Nationals and Independent voters believe it is happening, but that it is natural. Small numbers across all parties say they have no idea. Of those who don't believe, most are Liberal Party or Nationals voters. In conclusion, it can be seen that by far the largest number of voters across all parties believe in climate change. It is just the source of the change that is the issue.
Okay. So that was David doing that one. How did you go? For your scoring here, it's a score out of 15. That's divided into 5 for content, 5 for oral fluency and 5 for pronunciation. So give yourself an estimated score. Let's have a look. How did you go? How was it? Was it difficult? Is it all right? Do let me know. Okay, so it was a little bit tricky. It was all right, says Abu Nav. Okay, 14. Well done. That's a good score. Not too difficult. Good one. Akshay, thank you for sharing. Okay, Nushad, so maybe a bit more practice needed. Niba. Okay, good score. Well done. Good. Herman, that sounds reasonable. So next up, a quick reminder that if you feel that you want more feedback on these exercises, remember we have available the mini mock test. You can do this through the dashboard, and it's your chance to do exam-like tasks with the speed and the pressure of a real test. But the advantage is that you get back not only scores, but you also get comments to help you to improve. And we give you comments and links to material and other things so that you can improve your answers. So that is available through the dashboard. Take a look at e2language.com/mock-test/PT academic for more information. Now, next up, we have retail lecture. So we're going to get ready to take notes for this. It looks like this on the day. You usually get some kind of image, and then you have a little bit of time to prepare. Then you listen, you make notes, and you have 10 seconds to gather your thoughts, and then you speak for up to 40 seconds. So the method for this is use the image to focus. You listen and note down 6 to 8 keywords or expressions. Then when you speak, you use the framework, you elaborate on your keywords, you keep it simple, speak at a moderate pace. Don't talk about the picture, right? Don't wait more than 3 seconds, don't and ah, and don't restart sentences. And you can expect 3 or 4 of these on the test. The listening is usually between a minute and a minute and a half. So this is the framework. The speaker was discussing topic. She or he mentioned keyword 1. She described keyword 2, she talked about keyword 3, she discussed keyword 4, and she suggested that keyword 5. Learn this, learn it with sentences so you know how to work it, that it works well for you, and learn it off by heart. Can you remember what it was? Quick, just pop those missing verbs in the chat box. Let me see that you know them. Okay, good one. Good one. Look at that. Brilliant. You've got it. The speaker was discussing. She mentioned, she described, she talks about. Remember, a talk is the only one which has a preposition with it. She discussed and she suggested. Excellent. If you kind of mix them a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Somebody's raising their hand. Who is that? If you've got a question, just pop it in the chat box or anything you want to say to me. So let's do a bit of practice. This is note-taking practice. So look at the image. What is this text going to be about? Right, so you have a think. Then we're going to listen and write down and understand the text. Yeah, some people, yeah, D-word, exactly. Some ideas like that. D-word's having a think about what this is about. Okay, then you're going to listen and note down 6 to 8 keywords. Now, remember the purpose here is just to help your memory. So, for example, some people like to write down these verbs on the paper. So DMD, TDS, right? And then you'll be able to fill in quickly, discussing, mention, describe, talk about, discuss, suggested. And then as you're making your notes, you just pop them next to those words. Obviously, this is not about this image. This is just an example, right? Elephant skin, memory tricks, tourism, cruelty question, right? This is not about this old lady. But what we're going to do is try to copy a similar idea now as we listen. All right, so here we go. This is just note-taking practice.
In the US, the average American spends 3% of their income on energy. In contrast, low-income and rural populations can spend 20, even 30% of their income on energy. In 2015, this caused over 25 million people to skip meals to provide power to their homes. This is when energy becomes a burden. But energy burdens are so much more than just a number. They present impossible and perilous choices. Do you take your child to get her flu medicine, or do you feed her? Or do you keep her warm? It's an impossible choice, and nearly every month, 7 million people choose between medicine and energy.
Oh, I was waiting for a sound. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I think I just drifted off then. I was having a little think about energy. I apologize. Sorry about that. Lots of things to think about these days, right? So let's look at an example for this. Okay, so some keywords here. The speaker was discussing the cost of energy, 3% income versus 20 to 30%. Okay, the US 25 million meal power burden, impossible choices, feed a child or medicine or warmth, right? So we would use the framework with these keywords. Let's take a listen.
The speaker was discussing the cost of energy in America. She mentioned that for most people, energy costs around 3% of their income, but for some poorer people, it can be as much as 20 to 30% of their income. She described how in the US, 25 million people each year need to choose between meals and having power. She talked about how this represents a huge burden on some families, and she discussed that they're faced with impossible choices. She suggested that one of these choices is whether they should feed their children, provide necessary medicine, or provide warmth.
Okay, so that's Melinda demonstrating how, really just the framework and some words that you write down. Now you'll see they're not individual words. It says keyword 1, keyword 2, but it's more a kind of phrase, I think. So if you can get down phrases like that, then this is what you're going to be able to use with the framework and your memory. Okay, so Tadas, you've got some really good notes there. Edgar, your words are literally just individual words. You might want to have a little bit more for some of those, unless you've got a very good memory and you'll be able to pad it out. Yeah. So let's do one. Let's get ready. Okay, this is another one. So forget the previous one. That was just for practice of note taking. Now we're going to do the whole thing. So I'm going to turn off my video and wish you luck. Here we go.
I decided to go to graduate school for positive psychology to learn what truly makes people happy. But what I discovered there changed my life. The data showed that chasing happiness can make people unhappy. And what really struck me was this. The suicide rate has been rising around the world, and it recently reached a 30-year high in America. Even though life is getting objectively better by nearly every conceivable standard, more people feel hopeless, depressed, and alone. There's an emptiness gnawing away at people, and you don't have to be clinically depressed to feel it. Sooner or later, I think we all wonder, is this all there is? And according to the research, what predicts this despair is not a lack of happiness. It's a lack of something else, a lack of having meaning in life.
Okay, well done. So let's take a look at a sample answer. First of all, we'll listen to the script again, and we can see in blue the kinds of things that you may have made notes on.
I decided to go to graduate school for positive psychology to learn what truly makes people happy. But what I discovered there changed my life. The data showed that chasing happiness can make people unhappy. And what really struck me was this. The suicide rate has been rising around the world, and it recently reached a 30-year high in America. Even though life is getting objectively better by nearly every conceivable standard, more people feel hopeless, depressed, and alone. There's an emptiness gnawing away at people, and you don't have to be clinically depressed to feel it. Sooner or later, I think we all wonder, is this all there is? And according to the research, what predicts this despair is not a lack of happiness. It's a lack of something else, a lack of having meaning in life.
Okay, now let's take a listen to a sample answer.
The speaker was discussing going to graduate school to learn what makes people happy. She mentioned that what she discovered there changed her life, and she discussed how she found that chasing happiness makes people unhappy. Then she described how the suicide rate has been rising at a time when it seems that life is getting better. She talked about how there's an emptiness that people are feeling. Finally, she suggested that emptiness is a result of a lack of meaning.
Okay, so how did you do there? Again, you're giving yourself a score out of 15 for this. So up to 5 for content, up to 5 for oral fluency, and up to 5 for pronunciation. So track your score, note down what your estimate would be for your score for this. And we're going on to our last section. Now, quick reminder that there is a vocabulary quiz at the end, but first of all, we're going to be practicing answer short question. So it looks like this on the test. The method here is to focus, listen carefully, and when you answer in 1 or 2 words only. You speak clearly and naturally, and don't use complete sentences. This affects both your speaking and your listening score. You get 1 point for each correct answer. Okay, you can record yourselves doing this if you like. I'm going to count you in so you know when it's going to start. So here we go. Focus in 3, 2, 1.
The sun rises in the east. Where does it set?
Okay, so the answer to this was the West or West. It's fine without the article too. Well done, Diwa, Halima, Miriam. Oops, I wanted to play that for you again, but it didn't work. Here we go.
The sun rises in the east. Where does it set?
Okay, so that was our first one. Get ready for number 2 in 3, 2, 1.
What is the name for the small machine used to cut grass in backyards around the Western world?
Okay, Niba, Diwa have popped answers in. Diwa, that's not quite right. It's a lawn mower.
What is the name for the small machine used to cut grass in backyards around the Western world?
So a bit tricky, this one. All right, next up. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
If you were a milliner, what kind of product would you be making?
Okay, a few of you got this. Miriam, you were very quick. The answer is hat or hats.
If you were a milliner, what kind of product would you be making?
Yeah, Diwa, I don't quite understand your comments. Ah, right, now I understand. You heard millionaire, which is different completely. Millionaire. I think that's what you want to say, millionaire. I don't know what that means, but anyway, it was milliner. A milliner is a person who makes hats, for sure. So you get 1 point for each of those, which takes you to a total score of 3 for this section. And that means a total score of 102 for the test today. So if you've been keeping track of your scores, you might be wondering what that means in terms of PTE scores. This is not an exact science, but we can give you an estimate here and say that if you were looking for 65 today, then you would be aiming to have about 73 points on today's test. And if you're looking for a 79, then you would want to be getting around 83 points on today's test. So that's what we're aiming at. Shijin asked, can we pause for more than 3 seconds to think, or will it automatically cut off? Yeah, it will. So although you're given a potential 10 seconds to answer for answer short question, you do have to start speaking within 3 seconds. So that's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? There you go, that's how it goes. So let's have a look at a quick vocabulary quiz if you're sticking around. So here we go. This is some of the vocabulary you heard today. Take 30 seconds to read through it. Okay, and then let's get ready. Here we have 4 sentences. Can you pop the correct preposition? Here we go. Okay, let's take a look. Good. Some people popping their answers in chat box. So, oh, sorry. Let's take a look at the answers, can we? Or maybe it's afterwards. Can you first let's this, we're going to put the words in the correct order to make sentences. This is trickier, so you've got a minute. Okay. Well done if you've tried that. Let's have a look at the answers. So those are the prepositions. The problem's been gnawing away at me. A range of solutions induced by and distinguish from. And here are the other sentences. 5, he's been clinically depressed for months. 6, high blood pressure can be induced by a tragic event. 7, passing the test changed my life. 8, sea levels have been rising. 9, there's a range of jobs available. And 10, feeling hopeless can be a sign of depression. So if you're having, you're finding you're not getting those top scores, the important thing is to figure out what it is you need to do to improve. Is it a problem with content? Is it a problem with pronunciation? Or is it a problem with oral fluency? What can you do to improve those scores? Obviously, you can work on your listening skills. You can work on vocabulary and extending your vocabulary. You can work on pronunciation and specific consonant sounds or vowel sounds. You can also work on trying to copy the stress pattern and intonation of native speakers. Now, you can do this by watching videos of native speakers and pausing and repeating after them, or you can also get yourself a video where there's a transcript and try and read along at the same time as the native speaker, copying their phrasing and intonation. For oral fluency, you can also use that previous technique and practice with the methods and the techniques that we give you. For practice, remember you've got all of the material on the platform. You can also go to the blog, PTE, to hover over this and you get this pop-up menu of extra things. Ritesh asking about videos of native speakers. A really good source is TED Talks. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos and they all have transcripts as well. Remember, you can also, actually not this anymore, but you can go to E2 School to check out the pronunciation lab, which is called Speaking Lab, which is a pronunciation course. You can get speaking and writing feedback through the platform. You can also take tutorials with us. Remember, this could be a perfect time to do a tutorial session. They're 45-minute sessions where you get to speak to one of the experts here at E2 Language, and they will help you with any issues you're having or help you to identify what it is that you need to do to improve your scores. Remember, we've got that voucher code at the moment, Better Together 15. This gets you $15 off all upgrades and new packages if you want to pass that on to anybody else. Now, some people pop in questions in the chat box for me. That's great. We've got time for questions now. If you have to go already, then I'll say goodbye. Thanks for coming. And if you are sticking around, let's take a look in the chat box. So, Anubhav says, how can I improve on my repeat sentence score? I tend to miss out on more words while using the chunking method, which affects my fluency as well. Okay, I mean, the thing with repeat sentence is it's a lot more difficult to remember the sentence if you don't understand it. So sometimes the problem can be that you just need to increase your vocabulary, in general, because if you hear a word for the first time in a sentence, it's much more difficult to remember it. But you can also improve your short-term memory by practicing this. So when I mentioned before getting videos of native speakers, if you get a video of a native speaker which has a transcript as well, then you can play a practicing repeat sentence. You play 8-9 words, you pause, you repeat them, you look at the transcript and you check if they were right. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you keep doing it every day, building up the number of words that you do each time, so that maybe by day 4 or 5, you're doing it with 12, 13, 14 words, right? You should vary the videos, find different types of speaker, men, women, different accents. Yeah, then you can, and what sometimes I recommend to students is that you take a video and you do a few different exercises with one video. So you might do some repeat sentence, you might do some write from dictation, which is similar, but writing it down. You might then listen to 2 minutes and try to do a retell lecture with it. And then you might listen to a little bit more and try to do summarized spoken text, right? So writing it down. And so in a 15-minute video, you could practice for lots of different parts of the PTE. So I really recommend doing that as much as possible. So Karthik, yeah, I should have taken away that reference to E2 Pronounce app. It's not available anymore. People who have been with us for a long time might still have access, but we've pretty much taken it away now, and it's been replaced by the Speaking Lab course on E2 School. Yes, if you go to E2 School, then you can take a look at that. It's actually free access at the moment in response to COVID-19. We've opened up E2 School so that it's free for everybody. Somebody raising their hand, Murali Daran. If you've got a question, you can stick it in the chat box for me. I'll take a look. Where do we get? Yeah, I think I've answered all the questions that are there so far. If anyone's got any more questions, then stick them in there. Okay, well, I think that's everything for today. So I'll say thanks a lot. I might see somebody back here in a little while for the listening. Take care, and to everyone on YouTube joining us, thanks for coming, and come and join us in the E2 language family. Okay, bye-bye.